My boyfriend's friends laughed when I said I was a mechanic until his car broke down and none of them knew how to open the hood. We were heading to Dustin's lake house for the weekend when his vintage Mustang started making a sound like gravel in a blender. The engine died right there on the highway. His buddies, Tyler and Brandon, climbed out acting like they knew what to do. They circled the car, hands on their hips, nodding at each other like experts. Tyler pulled out his phone to Google it. Brandon suggested maybe we were just out of gas, despite the gauge showing half a tank. Should we call a tow truck? Dustin asked, looking genuinely helpless. I'd been sitting in the back seat listening to them joke about my job for the past hour. When I'd mentioned I worked at Peterson's auto shop, they'd exchanged these amused glances. Like, at the front desk? Tyler had asked. Scheduling appointments and stuff? When I said no, I was an actual mechanic. Brandon had laughed and said, "Sure you are," like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. Now they stood there sweating in the afternoon sun, completely lost. I got out and popped the hood on my first try. The release was right where it always is on these models. Inside, the problem was obvious. Coolant hose had split, spraying fluid everywhere. A quick fix if you knew what you were doing. "Oh," Tyler said, peering over my shoulder. "So you really do know about cars." I didn't bother responding. I grabbed the duct tape from Dustin's trunk, the electrical tape from the emergency kit, and wrapped the split section tight. It wouldn't hold forever, but it'd get us to the next town. I refilled the coolant reservoir with the spare bottle I always kept in my bag because I'd learned to never trust anyone else's emergency supplies. The guys watched in silence as I worked. When I finished and wiped my hands on the rag I carried, Brandon actually said, "That was kind of hot." I looked at Dustin. He was staring at the ground, embarrassed, but not defending me. That told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't the first time his friends had diminished something about me, and he'd never once stepped in. When we'd first started dating, he'd seemed impressed by my job. But around his buddies, he'd go quiet, like he was ashamed his girlfriend had grease under her fingernails. We made it to the next town. I told Dustin to drop me at the bus station instead of the lake house. He looked confused, like he genuinely didn't understand why I'd want to leave. "Come on," he said. "They were just joking around." "They weren't joking," I said, "and you let them." Tyler tried to apologize, saying he didn't mean anything by it. Brandon offered to buy me dinner to make up for it. But the damage was done. I'd spent 6 months with someone who only valued me when it was convenient, who'd let his friends mock me until the moment he needed me. I took the bus home that night. Dustin texted 11 times, saying I was overreacting and being dramatic. His messages went from apologetic to annoyed to angry. By the time he started calling me names, I'd already made up my mind. I blocked his number around midnight. 2 weeks later, he showed up at the shop. His Mustang was making that grinding noise again. My temporary fix had held longer than I'd expected, but now it needed real work. The whole cooling system was shot. He asked if I could take a look, maybe give him a discount since we had history. I quoted him full price plus labor. Then I recommended he try the shop across town. They'd probably do it cheaper, I said, though I knew they'd charge him double once they saw the mess he'd let it become. He stood there looking hurt, like I owed him something, like those 6 months meant I should forgive how small he'd made me feel. "Good luck," I said, and went back to the engine I was rebuilding. Sometimes the best repair you can make is knowing when to let something go.